Why do we crave the applause, the nods, the likes? Why does validation feel like a drug we can't quit? Now let's take a stroll down the alleyways of our minds. We've all been there, haven't we? That desperate hunt for the double tap on Instagram, that heart-skipping moment when the boss gives a thumbs up, that insatiable yearning for the nod of approval. It's like we're all hooked on a drug called validation, ain't it? Think about it. One moment you're on cloud nine because you got 50 likes on your selfie. The next you're down in the dumps because your buddy's cat video got 100. Or maybe you're the type that's always fishing for compliments at work, huh? Can't complete a task without someone patting you on the back? We're all guilty of it, no shame in admitting it. But here's a thought that might just blow your socks off. What if I told you you're the only applause you'll ever need, huh? Let's take a ride with Joe. A regular Joe who's high on validation. Meet our guy Joe. He's got this habit, see? Always looking for a pat on the back, a thumbs up, a good job, buddy. He's what we call a validation junkie, always hankering for that next fix of approval. Now don't get it twisted. Ain't nothing wrong with a little praise now and then, but Joe's hooked. Picture this. Joe walks into a room, all swagger and shine like he's king of the world. He starts spinning his tails, expecting everyone to hang on his every word. But if he doesn't get that nod of approval, that look of admiration, well, it's like the air's been sucked out of the room. Joe's world comes crashing down, and that's just it. See, Joe's got his self-worth all tangled up in what others think of him. He's like a puppet, dancing to the tune of external applause. But what happens when the music stops? When the applause fades? Poor Joe's left holding the strings, feeling lost and empty. But here's the kicker, folks. Joe's so busy seeking validation from others, he forgets to give it to himself. He's got this mental tally going, counting up the compliments, the likes, the shares. But it's never enough. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit. The more he gets, the more he wants. It's a vicious cycle, a never-ending ride on the validation merry-go-round. And you know the saddest part? No matter how much validation Joe gets, it never quite hits the spot. It's like he's drinking salt water to quench his thirst. He's left even more parched, more desperate for that next fix of approval. This ain't no way to live, folks. It's like chasing a mirage, always just out of reach. Joe's trapped in a loop, a hamster on a wheel, always running but never getting anywhere. Poor Joe, always fishing for compliments but never satisfied. Sound familiar? One day Joe stumbles upon a secret to break free from the validation chains. Now imagine Joe, just your average Joe, trudging through life like a rat in a maze, always chasing that cheese, that nod of approval, that pat on the back. Every day the same old song and dance, living for the applause, the likes, the retweets. His happiness, like a yo-yo bouncing up and down, tied to other people's opinions. But then out of the blue, like a bolt from the heavens, it hits him. It smacks him right in the kisser. He's been playing the fool, the puppet, dancing to the tune of others. He realizes he's given them the power, the control over his joy. And that, my friends, ain't no way to live. He starts to see the chains of validation for what they are. Shackles holding him back, keeping him small. He's been a prisoner, a captive of his own making. And for what, a thumbs up emoji? A double tap? Nah, he decides. There's gotta be more to life than this. So Joe, he starts to pull away, to cut those strings. It ain't easy, let me tell you. It's like trying to quit a bad habit. Cold turkey. He stumbles, he falls, but he keeps on going. He starts to flex those muscles, the ones he's neglected all this time. His inner strength, his resilience. He begins to rely on himself, to validate his own damn self. He starts to seek his own approval, to value his own opinion. And you know what? It feels good. It feels real good. He feels stronger, more confident. He feels free, like a bird soaring through the sky. He's still got a long way to go, but he's taken that first step. He's tasted independence, self-reliance. And let me tell you, it's a game changer. It's like waking up to a new dawn, a new beginning. Joe had a taste of freedom, and boy, it was sweeter than Mama's apple pie. Joe's on a new journey now, a journey within. Remember Joe, right? The guy who was always hunting for approval, the validation junkie? Well, he's turning the tables, stepping onto the road of self-reliance. And let me tell you, it ain't a walk in the park. Now, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. This path, it's brimming with struggles. Think about it. Joe's been living his life like a puppet, dancing on the strings of others' opinions. Now he's got to cut those strings and learn to dance on his own. It's like trying to walk again after you've been sitting for a long time. Your legs are numb, you stumble, you fall, but you gotta get back up, and that's exactly what Joe's doing. He's stumbling, he's falling, but he's also getting back up, dusting himself off and walking again. He's learning to love himself, flaws and all. He's learning to accept himself, not for what others want him to be, but for who he truly is. It's a tough gig, but Joe's giving it his all. Now, resilience, that's the golden ticket in this journey. And let me tell you, it's not about never falling down. It's about getting up every single time you do fall. It's about facing the storm head on and saying, is that all you've got? It's about picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and walking with your head held high, even when the world's trying to push you down. Joe's learning to be resilient, to be his own cheerleader, to pick himself up when he stumbles. He's learning to be his own rock, his own safe haven. He's learning to rely on himself, to trust in his strength, to believe in his worth. And you know what? It's paying off. Joe's starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. He's starting to realize that he doesn't need to be a pawn in the game of validation. He's starting to understand that he's the king of his own life, the master of his own fate. The road to self-reliance, it's a bumpy one, no doubt about it. But it's also a road worth traveling. It's a road that leads to a sense of peace, a sense of fulfillment, a sense of self-worth that no amount of external validation can ever provide. Look at Joe now, no longer a pawn in the game of validation. He's a king, ruling his own life, living on his own terms and loving every moment of it. And that, my friends, is the power of self-reliance. What's the real deal with being independent from validation, huh? Well, let me tell you, it's like being the star of your own show, no audience needed. You see, when you stop needing those standing ovations from others, your self-esteem shoots up faster than a New York minute. You're no longer tying your worth to what others think, and trust me, that's liberating. Imagine you're a bird, right? Now, you've been cooped up in a cage waiting for someone to tell you when it's okay to spread your wings, but when you break free from that cage of validation, you're soaring high, baby. You're making your own wind, choosing your own direction. That's personal growth, my friend. And let's talk about inner peace. It's like that feeling when you're chilling in Central Park. Not a care in the world, just watching the world go by. When you're independent from validation, you're not stressing over what people think. You're not constantly checking your social media for likes or comments. You're just living your life, enjoying your own company. So being independent from validation, it's like having your own Broadway show, being a bird in flight, and chilling in the park all rolled into one. It's about living life on your own terms, being the master of your own fate. So who's got the power now? You do. All right, let's bring this home. We've been on quite a ride with Joe, haven't we? From a guy so hooked on others' approval, he might as well have been mainlining it, to a fella standing tall and proud, not needing anyone to tell him he's the bee's knees. Let's recap, shall we? Joe was a validation junkie, a real approval hound. But one day, it hit him like a ton of bricks. He was giving away his power. So he decided to take the road less traveled, the road to self-reliance. And what did he find on this journey? The sweet taste of independence. The kind of power that doesn't come from a pat on the back or a gold star sticker. No, sir, it comes from within, from knowing you've done your best. And that's all that matters. So remember, folks, you're the only applause you'll ever need. Now go out there and show them what you've got.